My time has expired. We will now turn to the gentleman from California, Mr. Liccardo, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, each one of you, for your testimony. I wanted to ask one question and ask for hopefully the feedback of each of you if we can get it all done in 5 minutes. Let me describe the basis of the question. We've been very active in this committee in attempting to set up rules to govern cryptocurrency, and that's long overdue. I think many in the industry would agree that this is an area that needs some settled regulation rather than regulation by litigation or other approaches that have been taken in the past. We know that trillions of dollars are transacted in centralized exchanges and decentralized protocols every year. That number is increasing rapidly. And with that quantity of exchange, obviously, to the extent that particularly it's happening off of decentralized exchanges, there is increasing opportunity for fraud and for theft, as well as money laundering and other kinds of criminal activity. We have recently in the House of Representatives passed a bill, Clarity Act, that governs what happens on centralized exchanges, and perfectly or imperfectly has established know your customer requirements, anti-money laundering requirements, other rules to establish centralized exchanges. But we know increasingly the activity is moving from centralized to decentralized, to DeFi protocols. And because of pseudonymity, person on one end of the transaction doesn't actually know the identity of the person at the other end of the transaction. And if they try to get a subpoena or they call the FBI to say I was defrauded, they can't even find out who it was doing it. So the question is, what do we do about DeFi? That wasn't addressed in the bill that passed through the House. So I'm interested, Ms. Sanchez-Adams, do you have any particular views?
Yeah, as I mentioned in my testimony, I think that regardless of the market regulation and structure of the bill, you have to protect consumers. So if you update or clarify, you can, the CFPB can do it through guidance, or you all can do it through legislation, that the EFTA applies to crypto transactions, then those platforms will be held responsible and liable when consumers are defrauded, especially if you also update it to include fraudulently induced transactions.
But if it's off a platform, what do you do then?
I mean, you mean if it's like from an unhosted wallet?
That's right.
Right. So, I mean, you can, I think that there are problems with crypto and with the technology aside from that, which I'm happy to talk about at another point in time, but I think you still hold them liable. They're the party or the entity that is receiving the fraudulent fund. And so, if they're, unfortunately, it would be like I'm acting in cash and I'm transacting in cash, right? So if I have an unhosted wallet that's being used to pay somebody else who has an unhosted wallet, it's like I'm giving them cash. And so, they can't be regulated the same way as a bank could be regulated, but they're still subject to criminal fraud.
Thank you. Ms. Griffin?
Thank you for the question. And the forthcoming report will have a number of recommendations related to this, one of which will include establishing parity of law enforcement powers across money movement, including the civil forfeiture of digital assets. So some things about treating digital assets as cash for purposes of the civil forfeiture of fungible property, clarifying U.S. Secret Service authorities regarding those asset transactions. Essentially, how do we empower our law enforcement to be able to go after when crypto is involved in the transaction? I think the other element of this that's come up quite a bit in the task force deliberations is also related to the risk posed by crypto ATMs. ATMs that are placed in community stores, in nursing homes, in retirement homes, and where people are directed to put their hard-earned cash into those ATMs for the purposes of sending to criminals, and that's an area where we think there's a greater need for you all to be investigating.
Thank you. Ms. Brevos, you might have the last word.
Yes, well, thank you for the question. I'll be very brief. I think from our standpoint, I go back to what I said. I think awareness is very, very important. Consumers are unaware of the incredible risk that crypto poses, and crypto poses, it is at the heart of a lot of different scams because people get excited about the potential returns, and they don't know when they send crypto to an individual what risks that they're opening themselves up to. So making people more aware of the risks of crypto and that they should be much more thoughtful of when they are putting cash into crypto, and where they do that is very, very critical to combating this issue.
At the very least, we should be making them aware if they're on a DeFi protocol as opposed to a centralized exchange with those kinds of rules.
100%.